Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's up, baseball fanatics? This is Kevin Felicia coming at you with some absolutely earth-shattering news from the city of brotherly love that has Phillies fans simultaneously scratching their heads and holding their breath for what could be coming next. If you thought this offseason was going to be boring, think again, because Dave Dombrowski just pulled the trigger on another trade that nobody saw coming, and the ripple effects of this move could change the entire trajectory of the Philadelphia Phillies championship aspirations. On a seemingly ordinary Friday morning, while most of us were still nursing our coffee and scrolling through our phones, Dombrowski decided to shake things up in a major way. The Phillies have traded left-handed reliever Matt Strahm to the Kansas City Royals in exchange for right-handed pitcher Jonathan Bolin. Now, before you start throwing things at your screen or posting angry comments about how the front office has lost their minds, let me break down exactly what this trade means, why it happened, and more importantly, what bombshell move could be coming next that has every Phillies fan checking their phones every 5 minutes. Matt Strahm, the long-haired lefty specialist who has been a fixture in the Phillies bullpen for the past 3 years, is officially heading to Kansas City. Robert Murray broke the story first, with Mark Feinsand confirming the return player. And just like that, one of the most reliable arms in Philadelphia's bullpen was on his way out the door. For those of you who have been following this team closely, you know that Strahm wasn't just some average middle reliever. This guy was entering the final year of a $7.5 million deal, and over the past 3 seasons, he's been nothing short of exceptional when you look at the numbers. Let's talk about what the Phillies are losing here, because this isn't just some throwaway arm that they're shipping off to the American League. Last season alone, Strahm posted a 2.74 ERA with a 161 ERA plus, which, for those of you who don't live and breathe advanced statistics, means he was 61% better than the average pitcher. His walk rate was absolutely pristine at just 2.9 walks per 9 innings, and he posted a 2.99 FIP, which measures what a pitcher's ERA should have been based on the outcomes he could actually control. In 62.1 innings pitched across 66 games, Strahm struck out 70 batters while allowing just 5 home runs all season long. His whip of 1.075 was elite territory for a reliever, and he was consistently one of the best left-handed relievers, not just on the Phillies, not just in the National League, but in all of baseball. Over his entire 3-year tenure with Philadelphia, Strahm was an absolute workhorse. 212 innings pitched with a 2.71 ERA, 257 strikeouts compared to just 52 walks, which is an absolutely insane ratio of nearly 5 strikeouts for every walk. He posted a 159 ERA plus and accumulated 6.6 wins above replacement as a reliever, which is genuinely impressive when you consider that relievers typically don't accumulate WAR the way starters do. This wasn't just a good reliever. This was a top-tier arm that you could trust in high-leverage situations, and now he's wearing Royals blue. So why on earth would the Phillies trade away one of their most consistent bullpen arms? The answer, my friends, comes down to 2 words that make every small market team's fans cringe: salary dump. The harsh reality of baseball economics is rearing its ugly head in Philadelphia right now, and despite being one of the wealthier franchises in the sport, the Phillies are clearly feeling some financial pressure as they try to maneuver their roster into championship contention. Strahm's $7.5 million salary for the upcoming season might not sound like a ton of money in the grand scheme of baseball salaries, but when you're trying to free up enough cash to make a legitimate run at a superstar player, every $1 million counts. The Phillies front office is clearly playing some financial Tetris right now, and Strahm's contract was one of the easier pieces to move. They're also actively trying to dump as much of Nick Castellanos' $20 million annual salary as possible. And there's speculation that they might try to do the same thing with Taylor Ward's contract. There are even whispers that Alec Boehm, who's set to make around $10 million next season, could be the next domino to fall if the Phillies can find the right trade partner. This isn't just about shedding one reliever's salary. This is about clearing significant payroll space for something much bigger. Now let's talk about what the Phillies are getting back in this deal, because Jonathan Bolin isn't just some random minor leaguer or organizational filler. He's a late 20s right-handed pitcher who basically made his major league debut last season after appearing in just 1 or 2 games the year before. In his first full season in the majors, Bolin posted a 3.86 ERA with a 24.6% strikeout rate across 44.1 innings pitched. He struck out 46 batters while walking 17 and finished with a 1.22 whip. Those numbers aren't going to blow anyone away, but here's the kicker that makes this deal at least somewhat interesting from a team-building perspective. Bolin is under team control until 2032 and hasn't even reached pre-arbitration status yet. That means the Phillies have locked up a controllable arm for the next 7 years at an absolute bargain price, which is valuable in today's game where young, controllable pitching is worth its weight in gold. However, and this is a big however, you have to wonder if trading away one of the best left-handed relievers in baseball for a middle-tier right-handed reliever with team control was really the best return that Dombrowski could have gotten. Strahm was literally the best left-handed reliever available on the trade market this offseason, and it's hard to believe that Bolin was the absolute best offer on the table. But here's where things get really interesting, and why Phillies fans need to stop panicking about losing Strahm and start getting excited about what could be coming next. You don't just salary dump a quality player without having a plan for what you're going to do with that money. The Phillies didn't clear $7.5 million off their books just to pocket the savings and call it a day. They also acquired Brad Keller earlier in the week, which presumably made them feel more comfortable about their bullpen depth, even without Strahm. No. This move was made because Dave Dombrowski is getting ready to drop an absolute hammer on the rest of the National League, and there are 2 names that should have every Phillies fan absolutely salivating: Alex Bregman and Bo Bichette. Let's start with Bregman, because the tea leaves are starting to align in a way that suggests something could actually happen here. ESPN's Jeff Passan recently reported that both Bregman and Cody Bellinger have taken shorter-term deals with opt-outs in the past, but this time around, both players are looking for the security of long-term contracts and are unlikely to move off that demand. Bregman, who just turned 30 years old, is reportedly seeking a 6-year deal, while Bellinger could be looking for something even longer. The interesting thing about Bregman is that he checks every single box for what the Phillies need right now: a right-handed bat with championship pedigree, gold glove caliber defense at third base, elite plate discipline, and the kind of postseason experience that money can't buy. Imagine for a second what a lineup featuring Bregman would look like for the Phillies. You'd have one of the smartest hitters in baseball, a guy who consistently posts on-base percentages north of 360, slotting in somewhere in the middle of that order alongside Bryce Harper, Trea Turner, and Kyle Schwarber. The defensive upgrade at third base would be substantial, and you'd be getting a player who has been to the World Series multiple times and knows what it takes to win in October. Yes, the contract is going to be expensive. Yes, committing 6 years to a player entering his 30s comes with risk. But if you're the Phillies and you genuinely believe your championship window is right now, can you really afford not to take that swing? Then there's Bo Bichette, and honestly, the more you think about this possibility, the more sense it makes. Bichette is only 27 years old, plays middle infield, and has led the American League in hits twice during his career. Players with that kind of resume, especially at that age, get paid, and they get paid handsomely. According to Passan's reporting, Bichette is the type of player who can afford to be patient in free agency because the market will come to him. He's not going to settle for a discount deal, and he shouldn't have to. The mechanics of how the Phillies would fit Bichette onto their roster would require some creative maneuvering. The most logical scenario would involve sliding Bryson Stott to third base and installing Bichette at second base, which would give the Phillies an incredibly dynamic middle infield combination alongside shortstop Trea Turner. Another option would be trading Stott to clear space and acquiring a third baseman through another move, though that seems less likely given how much the organization values Stott's switch-hitting bat and defensive versatility. Either way, adding Bichette would represent a significant injection of youth and talent into a roster that desperately needs both. What the Phillies need right now, more than anything, is a gut punch move that sends a message to the rest of the National League, and particularly to the Los Angeles Dodgers, that Philadelphia is all in on winning a championship. Right now, if we're being completely honest, the Phillies roster on paper doesn't match up with what the Dodgers have assembled. That's not a knock on the Phillies. That's just acknowledging reality. The Dodgers have Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, and an embarrassment of riches throughout their roster. The Phillies have a very good team that's capable of winning a World Series if they get hot at the right time, but they need that one more elite piece to truly compete with the Dodgers in a 7-game series. One encouraging sign for the future is that the Phillies front office seems to finally be embracing their young talent in a way they haven't in recent years. Dave Dombrowski and the entire organization have been raving about Justin Crawford, with Dombrowski himself becoming perhaps Crawford's biggest supporter within the organization. They deliberately kept Crawford in the minors last season because they wanted him to play every day rather than sit on a major league bench, which shows a level of developmental patience that we haven't always seen from this front office. They're excited about Andrew Painter's return from injury and his eventual impact on the big league roster. They're ready for Aiden Miller to reach the professional ranks at some point this season. This organizational shift toward valuing youth development could pay massive dividends down the line. But getting back to the Strahm trade itself, it's tough to look at his body of work with the Phillies and not feel at least a little bit conflicted about seeing him go. This was a guy who gave you 212 quality innings over 3 years with a sub-3 ERA, who struck out more than 5 batters for every walk he issued, and who was genuinely one of the most reliable arms in your bullpen during that entire stretch. Were there some postseason moments where he struggled? Absolutely. No pitcher is perfect, and Strahm certainly had his share of rough outings when the lights were brightest. But to focus solely on those negative moments while ignoring 3 years of consistently excellent regular season performance would be both unfair and short-sighted. The reality is that sometimes difficult decisions have to be made in the name of team building, and this was one of those situations where the Phillies front office determined that they needed the financial flexibility more than they needed Strahm's specific skill set. With Brad Keller now in the fold and the potential for additional bullpen moves before opening day, the Phillies clearly feel confident that they can absorb the loss of Strahm's production. Whether that confidence is justified remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. If this trade doesn't lead to a significant roster upgrade elsewhere, it's going to look pretty bad in hindsight. The financial chess match that Dombrowski is playing right now extends beyond just Strahm's contract. The Phillies are clearly trying to create as much payroll flexibility as possible, which means additional moves are almost certainly coming. Castellanos' bloated contract remains an albatross around the team's neck, and finding a trade partner willing to take on even a portion of that money would be a massive win for Philadelphia. The same applies to Taylor Ward and potentially Alec Bohm, though trading Bohm would create its own set of complications given that he's been a productive player when healthy. What makes this entire situation so fascinating is that we're watching a front office try to thread a very narrow needle. The Phillies are trying to remain competitive in the present while also creating the financial flexibility necessary to add impact talent. They're trying to get younger while also pursuing veteran free agents who can help them win right now. They're trying to balance short-term championship aspirations with long-term organizational health. It's an incredibly difficult balancing act, and frankly, not every move is going to work out perfectly. The Jonathan Bolin acquisition, while not sexy or exciting, does give the Phillies a controllable arm with upside that they can develop over the next several years. In a vacuum, that's not nothing. The problem is that this trade doesn't exist in a vacuum. It exists in the context of the Phillies trading away one of their best relievers in his prime for what amounts to a lottery ticket pitcher who might never amount to anything more than a middle reliever. If Bolin develops into a quality late innings arm who contributes for the next 5 or 6 years, then this trade will look brilliant. If he flames out or never takes the next step developmentally, then the Phillies will have essentially given away Strahm for nothing. The key thing to remember is that this trade is likely just the first domino in what could be a series of significant roster moves. If Dombrowski follows up this salary dump by landing someone like Bregman or Bichette, then suddenly the Strahm trade looks like a necessary evil on the path toward building a championship roster. If the Phillies pocket the savings and don't make any meaningful additions, then this trade becomes much harder to justify regardless of how much team control they have over Bolin. One aspect of this situation that hasn't gotten enough attention is the signal it sends to the rest of the league about Philadelphia's intentions. By aggressively clearing salary at a time when they're theoretically trying to compete for a championship, the Phillies are essentially broadcasting to every agent and front office executive in baseball that they have money to spend and are willing to do whatever it takes to land their target. That's a powerful message, and it could help Philadelphia in negotiations for premium free agents who want assurance that their new team is committed to winning. The coming weeks are going to be absolutely critical for determining whether this trade was genius or folly. If Dombrowski can parlay this salary dump into a legitimate superstar acquisition, then Phillies fans will quickly forget about losing Matt Strahm. If the money gets reinvested into mediocre complementary pieces, or even worse, doesn't get spent at all, then this trade will be remembered as a colossal miscalculation that weakened the team without providing any tangible benefit. So where does all of this leave us? The Philadelphia Phillies have traded away a very good reliever to clear salary space, presumably to make a run at landing a significant free agent upgrade. They've signaled their willingness to get creative with their roster construction and aren't afraid to make tough decisions about trading quality players if it helps them achieve their larger goals. The question now becomes whether Dombrowski can actually close the deal on whatever big-name player he's targeting, because if he can't, this entire exercise will have been for nothing. For Phillies fans, the next few weeks are going to be an absolute roller coaster of emotions. Every rumor, every tweet, every cryptic Instagram story from a player or agent is going to be scrutinized and analyzed to death. The anticipation is going to build to a fever pitch as we wait to see what Dombrowski does with his newly freed up payroll space. Will it be Bregman bringing championship pedigree to the hot corner? Will it be Bichette injecting youth and energy into the middle infield? Will it be someone completely unexpected that nobody saw coming? Or will it be nothing, leaving Phillies fans to wonder why they traded away a quality reliever for essentially nothing? The baseball world is watching Philadelphia right now, waiting to see what comes next. Dave Dombrowski has built a reputation over his decades-long career as a general manager who isn't afraid to make bold moves and swing for the fences. This Strahm trade is the setup, the opening move in what could be a masterful offseason strategy. Now it's time to see if Dombrowski can deliver the knockout punch that transforms the Phillies from a good team into a legitimate World Series favorite. The stage is set, the money has been cleared, and all eyes are on what happens next in the city of brotherly love. All right, Phillies fans, that's the latest on this blockbuster trade that nobody saw coming. What do you think? Was trading Matt Strahm the right move? Are you excited about the possibility of landing Bregman or Bichette? Or are you worried that Dombrowski is playing with fire by dumping quality players without a guaranteed replacement? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because I want to hear from all of you. And hey, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, smash that subscribe button right now so you don't miss any of the breaking news as this Phillies offseason continues to heat up. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown, and make sure your notifications are turned on, because when the next big move drops, you're going to want to be the first to know. Until next time, this is Kevin Felicia, and I'll catch you in the next one. Let's go, Phillies.